Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to do a video that's a little bit different, so stick around. Okay guys, so one of the comments on one of my latest videos when I was talking about ideas for something to do recommended some top fives to give you guys the opportunity to get to know a little bit more about me and maybe do something a little bit more fun, because my videos can be so incredibly serious. So today, thank you for the idea, subscriber Metatron Jones. Really appreciate the idea. So today we're going to do my top 5 television shows. Okay, so starting out at number 5 on the list is one of my favorites. I was, that 90s girl, so one of my favorite shows was Charmed when it started out, and I still remember the very first episode that I watched on the WB, and I was automatically a fan. I wasn't brand new when I saw it. It was like a season in. But then, after watching that, I started collecting as many seasons as I could. And, I still have those for years, and I still watch them on occasion. They did kind of lose me in the last few seasons, where I felt like the show really went off the rails and went into more unbelievable storylines and characters that I personally didn't care about. But still, it's definitely in my top 5 television shows. Okay guys, that brings us to number 4 on my list. And number 4 is another supernatural based show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, unlike Charmed, I know people have had their issues with it, with certain seasons of Charmed, myself included, where it went off the rails. And I had seasons that I liked more than others with Buffy. But to me, Buffy was a hit, from season 1 all the way through the last episode of season 8. So I absolutely adore Buffy. It's still one of my guilty pleasures. I have every single season on DVD that I occasionally binge watch when I'm sort of feeling down. So definitely a well-deserved number 4 on my list. Okay, that brings us to number 3. And this show could really be higher up on the list. It probably should be number 1, just for the influence it's had. But for these shows, I was just ranking them for my own entertainment value. But it's the only reality show on the countdown, on my top 5, and that is I Am Jazz. So, I am a super fan of Jazz Jennings. I still remember the very first time I heard her story, which was when they did the 2020 interview. And it was incredibly significant to me because it was one of the first times I really heard about what it meant to be transgender, and got me to start questioning, what was going on with me and coming to terms. It still took a long time for me to come to terms. But a lot of that had to do with me seeing that example of Jazz Jennings. And then when the show came on, I absolutely had to watch. I've continued to be glued to the show. I love the fact that it takes the opportunity not only to just, do some entertaining along the way, but also that it's very big on educating about trans issues. So it's definitely one of my favorite shows for the cultural significance that it has, and for what it does, I believe, for the trans community. Okay, guys, that brings me to number 2 on my countdown. This one I have to give a little bit more information on. So, this show is planning a reboot this coming year, and it's a reboot that I will not be watching even though it's number 2 on my favorite shows of all time. The show that I'm talking about is Roseanne, and I absolutely adore the original run. You know, the original, when I watched it, it made me think of my family. You know, the Connors were low income. They weren't high class. They were a little redneck, which made me relate to where I came from. They fussed and fought, but at the end they were able to come together for each other. And we saw them struggle through jobs and losing jobs. These were all things I related to when I was growing up. So I was a super fan. And it's still one of my favorite shows. I do own every season. But the reason I won't watch the new one, in part because of her support for certain political candidates that I believe have been very destructive for the trans community, but also because of the comments that she has specifically said about the trans community over the years, including when she was looking at a run for president for, I think, the Green Party, or maybe it was independent, I don't know. But she had made comment talking about, you know, women's dressing rooms and women's restrooms, and the trans issue, and referring to transgender women as men who shouldn't be in the women's room. That pretty much lost me, but I still think very kindly of the previous show and how much I enjoyed it. So it's still on my top 2, but don't expect me to watch the revival series. Okay, guys, before I go to number 1, a few honorable mentions. So, I love classic television. One of the honorable mentions would have to be I Love Lucy. I Love Lucy was groundbreaking in comedy. You know, it was, you know, very early on with the first primary female protagonist in the show. So it was, and the jokes, I think it stood the test of time. So that's definitely one that stays in my list of favorite shows. The Golden Girls, which I adore and still think very highly of. The Andy Griffith Show. It's my mom's favorite show. It's still one of my favorites, just barely missing my top 5. And then one show that might be a little controversial to say, but I'll explain why, was I Am Kate. Now, I did not like it from the perspective of looking at Caitlyn Jenner. I'm not a fan of Caitlyn Jenner. I feel that she has no concern for the overall trans community and that her concern is for herself only. However, I Am Kate highlighted some wonderful people in the trans community that I have the utmost respect for. You know, people like Shandy, people like Jenny Boylan, Candace Kane. You know, these are all, you know, wonderful people in the trans community that are doing a positive good. They tried to do something very positive on I Am Kate, and in my personal opinion, they should have canceled Kate and given these women a show. They were phenomenal people, and you know, they were desperately trying to help someone who, you know, was part of the community, but not really part of the community, who didn't understand the community's struggle. And they put blood, sweat, and tears into that. So for that, I give the show a lot of credit for those ladies. And frankly, I give it 0 credit for Caitlyn Jenner. Alright guys, that brings us to number 1. My number 1 favorite show, a show that I have watched hundreds of times. And I can literally say that I don't believe I've went more than a few days without watching it in the past 5 or 6 years. I can quote every single line of every single episode. And that show is Everybody Loves Raymond. You know, the writing was fantastic. The storylines were great. I loved the family dynamics in the show. And watching that, there was a natural chemistry between the entire cast to where you could really see them in the roles that they were playing. It was a beautifully done show. It ended way too soon. I mean, I get it. It lasted a long time, but I absolutely adored it. You know, it's sad that now, you know, the actor who played Marie, who was a critical character, Ray's mom, passed away recently. The actor who played Ray's dad passed away sometime before that. But, you know, they left a wonderfully done show that, I know for me it's my comfort show. I watch it almost every night when I'm laying down to rest, and it just helps everything, all my stress from the day, melt away. I love the show, and it will always be on the #1 on my top 5 list. So, yeah, everybody loves Raymond. Okay, guys, that was my top 5 television shows. Hope you enjoyed. You know, it's just a chance to kind of get to know me a little bit better. Thank you to the subscriber for the idea. If you did enjoy, you know, in the comments, let me know, you know, what are your top 5 television shows? Which ones on my list did you disagree with? Were there any on my top 5 list that you absolutely hate? You know, just let me know what you think. I just wanted to do something a little fun, and so this was something a little different than what I usually do. To all those people who left comments on the video that I did a couple of days ago about the situation that I'm currently dealing with, I'll leave a link. No, it'll go up here, I believe, where you can go to that video. But I just want to thank every one of you who left comments and encouragement. It meant the world to me. I really do appreciate it. I'm dealing with a tough time, but you know what? What can I say? I'm a tough bitch. I'll make it through. I'll push on through, and somehow I'll be fine. It's scary, but I can be a little scary too when you get in my way. So I'm going to come out of this, but thank you. I appreciate all the comments of support. Please click subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Give the video a thumbs up. And I end with my quote, "Don't let the bastards get you down. Life is hard, but you know what? It's also worth it. It's better than the alternative. So push through, be you, and screw everybody who gets in the way." Have a great day, guys. I love you guys. I'll see you again soon. Yeah, guys, so I just thought I'd give you a little glimpse of what it's been like here in the snowy Midwest. If there's ever been a time to just kind of enjoy your favorite television show like the countdown was about, this has been it, because it has been frigid. But yeah, just a little view. Still a little bit of snow you can see coming down. I'm starting to wonder if it's ever going to stop.